30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yo, the Bills run the East, it's as simple as that. Back-to-back champs, who the fuck are the Pats? Sip a day when I'm taking a crap. You better watch your back, Gregory Rousseau with a sack. I like pizza, but I'm really not big into snacks. Tequila when I need to relax. I ain't with the politics, I give a crud if you vex. As long as you get down with the facts. I just finished up an edit, made a few more quid. 7 zeros in the ledger, saving up for a kid. The way I edit in this game is insane. I stuck it, holla to the haters, you can tell them they can suck it. You know I love my billies, it's silly, we're ready. Cue the motherfucking confetti. It's time to take care of business that was started by Kelly. A Super Bowl game winning touchdown selling. But really, you already know it's gonna be chilly. Micah Jordan, Matt Milano, the defense is Achilles. 2022, bring up Florida to City. Finish up at SoFi, 1001 Stadium Drive, Inglewood, California in the sunshine. Always ride or die, it's a matter of time. Diggy Allen, Mola Davis, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Diggy Allen, Mola Davis, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. Diggy Allen, Mola Davis, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde.
What a way to set the tone right there. Shout out my boy Satch Money, a local Rochester native, with that sweet tune. Go follow him over on Instagram at Satch Money. Does some awesome stuff. Did some work with JA a bit back. Awesome edit there. Awesome song to come off an awesome W. And if you can't tell by now, guys, your eyes are working very well. You can see him right next to my man Clay Troya, who's on mute. I better tell him before he starts speaking. There it is. I can see it's not muted. Clay, my man, I was on yesterday with Rico, so I got a little bit off my chest already, but I still, of course, have a lot more to get off because of the way that game went. I was there. You were there as well. Before we even get into that game, talk to me about your experience being at what might have been the greatest offensive performance in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, obviously the talk of everything was going into the game is, oh man, it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. Bundle up. I mean, we came pretty prepared, and I felt fine the whole game. Kind of off the bat, the cold wasn't an issue. But man, that game, it's kind of funny because even as we were going through the game, I didn't even realize how historic of a performance it was. I was just enjoying the moment and enjoying, looking up at the scoreboard and seeing that we got a 3 touchdown lead and it's not even halftime type of a deal. I just was kind of soaking it all. And it really wasn't until we were listening to the radio on the ride home and I got home and I saw the tweets and everything where it was like, oh my God, that was a historically impressive performance from that football team that we just got to witness live in person there. What an incredible experience.
I don't know if you were like me, but when I was there and it just started to compound the way it was, it got to the point where no one around me, including myself and my dad and everybody I was with, no one knew what to do with themselves anymore. We had never seen anything like it. And it got to the point where it's like, I don't even know how to celebrate this anymore. What do I do? And I think that's when it really hit is when they went up and finally got to the 27-3 mark at half. And you're thinking to yourself, well, for a fact New England does not have the offensive capabilities of coming back. you. It's just a matter of how hard, how much further can they go with it? And they went even further with it. Was it like that for you sitting there? Just, you didn't even know what to do with yourself? Because I truly was at a loss for words completely.
Yeah, I mean, going into the night, I was saying, even if the Bills win the toss, I want them to get the ball first. I want them to drive down the field, and I want them to score. I want them to get an early lead on the Patriots, because if the Patriots are a team that's playing from behind, then it's a lot. That's a great position for you to be in, is make the Patriots play from behind. So when they got the ball and they drove down and they scored, and then they did it again. I'm like, oh man, like, we're up 14-0 on them. This is exactly where we want them. And honestly, from that point, I think I just kind of was in a little bit of shock for the rest of the game. And like I said, I didn't even realize how historic of a performance it was, because it was just, they just kept on making plays and kept on making plays. At a certain point, I didn't even, usually I'm jumping up and down and shouting when I see a good play start to happen and, go, go, go. After a while, I would just kind of stand there in silence and just watch the play in complete amazement. Because I was just like, they're still going there. They keep doing it. It was so incredible.
Pops Mafia coming in saying, can't wait to see Clay break down film. I think all of us are waiting for that one. I don't know how you and Kendall are going to be able to sift through all that. Have you checked out the All-22 yet? And if you have, did it look even better from that angle?
I have not checked it out yet. I have seen some of the stuff posted on Twitter here and there, though, and some of the plays that I wanted to take a look at least as well. So, I mean, Kendall, we're splitting it up again this week, where we want to preview the Chiefs game as well, since that's a huge game, and we're going to be at Wednesday, halfway through the week at that point. So, Kendall's actually going to be the one that's going back and picking apart this game, and then I'm going to go look at some of the Chiefs stuff, previous matchups and their past couple of weeks, and take a look at them as well. But yeah, honestly, I don't even know. I'm just going to be way too giddy and probably have, anxiety. I'm just going to be overwhelmed if I go and watch that game. I'm like, what do I even want to talk about here, man? Yeah. Every play is perfect.
Perfect's the way to put it. Somebody tweeted at me yesterday. They said, there's games in the past that are coined with a name. You look back on it, the Snow Bowl, of course, Bills, Colts, that McCoy took it into the end zone in overtime. You get the W. Throughout history, there's games that have been coined with a name. And I think the perfect way to put this one into one word, it's perfect. It was the perfect game. When we watch baseball, everybody's looking for a perfect game from the pitcher, a no-hitter. This was the NFL equivalent of a perfect game on offense. It's never been done. And if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know if it'll ever be done again. You and I were just talking. The fact that we were there, we should never take for granted that we were in the stadium for that. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. And when you break down, just how it happened and who it happened against, and, people want to make excuses for the Patriots all they want. I understand their offense is pretty bleak and they have a rookie quarterback. They also had the number 2 defense in the league, Clay. This was not against a scrub. This was not against any defense that you would expect a performance like that to happen, and it did in the playoffs. 0-degree weather against Belichick, the defensive guru, of course, who, as we look back on it, everybody said that game plan on Monday Night Football was pure genius. Well, was it? Because it was a very similar element the other night, and there was no genius to be found. Just how shocked were you in general, knowing, like when you step back and finally realize, okay, that happened, and in itself, it was amazing no matter who it would have happened against, but it happened against New England. When did it really hit you when you were there, where you're like, this is over. This is over. The torch has been passed. It's the Bills division until anybody proves otherwise.
I think to me it was, the Dawson Knox. It was a play action. I think it was a play action bootleg right. Josh Allen tosses it deep to Dawson Knox against J.C. Jackson for a completion right down to the goal line. I can't remember at what point that game was, but the game was long over before that moment, and we had already beaten them to a pulp. And
you're talking about the deep route to Knox where he got down to the one there.
The deep route to Knox got down to the 1 yard line.
Yep.
That play to me was, oh my God, we're stepping on their throats now.
Yeah.
We're not just beating them anymore. We are putting every ounce of anger and frustration that we've had with the New England Patriots. We're putting it all into the rest of this game right now, and we are not stepping off the gas. And that was the moment where it really started to feel it, where it was like, oh my God, it's over now. We no longer have to, be submitted to this kind of torture that we have been for so many years. It really got the monkey off the back there.
It was you who tweeted that was essentially 20 years compiled into one gigantic FU, right? That's what it was. Yeah. And that was the best way to put it. I think the moment for me, and there's two of them. One, it was the touchdown to Emmanuel Sanders, because that was just like, just when you thought it couldn't get any more egregious on that field, just a deep ball that quite frankly, we haven't seen a deep ball from Allen like that really all year. We were used to it last year. We have not really seen many bombs down the field for touchdowns like that. And that's the cool thing about this game. They scored in a variety of different ways. The biggest variation of the ways that they scored is my second moment where I really felt, wow, you want to talk about a double finger. You're going to put the foot on the gas with a touchdown to Tommy Doyle. I mean, that was the biggest flip I've ever seen, because at that point you're already up an insurmountable amount, and you run a corner route to your alignment. And to me, it was just right there. If they wanted that game to be as ugly as it was. There was plenty of opportunity for the Bills to take their foot off, and we've seen them do that all year. I mean, in Atlanta, that game could have been 100-0. It seemed early on. You let your foot off the gas. It's happened a variety of times throughout the season. But that moment right there was like, man, they are really, really spitting in these guys' faces.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I don't know why, but it's something about Sean McDermott and Brian Daboll. They just absolutely hate Bill Belichick. I think they hate him just as much, if not more, than everyone in the stands hates that man. And especially, it has to be, a certain point of pride for Daboll, who worked for the guy. Never really got a shot to kind of move up into a bigger position in that. So he went to college, and he went and worked for Alabama so he could get a job in the NFL as an OC. And for him, it's got to be like this feeling of, this is a guy that I've worked for. This is one of the greatest defensive coaches of all time, perhaps the greatest head coach of all time. And to be able to just go in and say, I'm not only going to kick your ass, but once I'm done kicking your ass, I'm going to kick your ass a couple more times just to make sure that you remember that what happened on this day, and that you never forget my name again. Because that was like, it just makes me so happy. And even, when after the first game, when McDermott was like, let's not give Belichick more credit than he deserves or anything like that, you can just feel the hate in his voice and how much he despises that man. And I just love that so much.
100%. I mean, that's perfectly put, because the hatred's inevitable. And I think, McDermott let that slip up. It got taken out of context. It's not what he was trying to say. What he was saying was, it was more of a blunder on their end to completely get out coached in that manner. But in saying that, he said exactly what you just alluded to, and that's the hatred. It's inevitable. We also saw that from Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, because of the crap that they had to deal with afterwards in the post game, and how as soon as they beat the Patriots in that second matchup, it was the first thing out of Micah Hyde's mouth off the field. The hatred's real. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs, who hasn't even been around for any of this hatred, that second game, he's up in the fans' faces. The whole thing, to me, Clay, it looks like the hatred hasn't gone away. It's just there in a much more fun way. New England always probably hated the Bills because of our fan base, right? So they always had hatred there as well, but it was a different form of hatred because they owned us. And now we're getting a little bit of a taste of that. Whereas New England fans, they're talking about how bad the coaching staff is. Move on from Belichick. Should we get rid of Mac Jones and move on? The things that we were saying forever. It's amazing, the total role reversal, how the table has completely turned. Because you're my age, man. You know how it is. We never thought it would ever get to this moment. And, for me to sit back, when it was 40-10, Belichick punted the ball. And right there was it was pure, he conceded, right? Not that he had any other choice, really. But, I mean, right there, you sat to yourself and said, man, all of these years of dealing with that, and it is a total role reversal. Not even a marginal one. It's not like the Bills barely squeaked it out. I mean, we're talking about domination in a way that, even as good as New England was against us for 20 years, they never beat us like that. I mean, that was extraordinary.
Yeah, and it's so special to watch too. And I was reading a tweet even while we were in the stadium when the Bills were up by 37 points. And it was a tweet about the margin of loss for Bill Belichick across his career. His worst margin of loss was against the Bills when he lost 31-0 in opening weekend, the Lawyer Malloy game. His second biggest loss before the Saturday game was also against the Bills.
Yeah, last year
in New England. And then the one that just happened on Saturday, that's now in the number 2 spot. And it's 31, 30, 29 point differentials. All of Bill Belichick's worst losses from a point differential standpoint have come against the Bills. And that makes me feel a lot better about those 20 years that they just beat us down.
100%. And I heard that same thing. When I did hear it, it was pretty shocking. I think if anybody were to guess who had the 3 biggest marginal, defeats against Bill Belichick, the last guess you would have been the Bills. I mean, that would have been my last guess. I remember the 31-0 game. I wouldn't have imagined that the top 3 were for Buffalo. But that's kind of an encapsulation of what we witnessed the other night, the passing of the torch, the end of an era. And if you were on with me and Rico yesterday, I apologize, but I'm going to read this again because this, to me, I cannot read it enough. I cannot emphasize enough how special the other night was. And we, as a fan base, we have got to remember this game forever through the ups and downs. This is one of those moments that will never be forgotten. We have to remember, outside of even being a Bills fan, how extraordinary this performance was just in the landscape of the league. So here is a thread of insane stats that happened the other night. Once again, I read this yesterday, but I'm going to do it again. I might read this every show till the end of time, until YouTube goes out of business, because this, to me, is the most insane list of occurrences that happened the other night. And the fact of it all being reality is still mind-bending to me. I don't even think this has hit me yet. And the thing is, by now, it's Monday night. Come tomorrow, especially Wednesdays, we get midweek. It's really time to move off of this game and get on to the next one, which is an extraordinarily massive matchup that we'll touch on here in a minute. But it's still Monday night, Clay. We're just barely 48 hours removed, not even actually. I'm still basking in this one. So here it is, a thread of insane stats from the other night. Mind you, these are all true, and they all occurred the other night. Josh Allen, more touchdowns than incompletions. 1 in every 5 throws for Allen was a touchdown. All 5 of his touchdowns came off play action, the most in NFL history. 98.5 QBR, the best quarterback rating ever since the metric was recorded back in 2006. He averaged nearly 15 yards a completion off of an 84% completion percentage, a career high for him. He had 5 TDs in that game. That's a postseason Bills franchise record in negative degree weather. And on that touchdown to Dawson Knox, the first one, he lasted 9 seconds in the pocket, a testament to how good this O-line has become recently. That's the most amount of time a quarterback has had to throw in this league in over 3 seasons. And as we were just talking about, they handed Bill Belichick his worst career playoff loss. All 3 of Belichick's career losses that are the biggest have come from the Bills, like we just mentioned. The other night was the second biggest. Belichick had never coached a game where he did not allow a punt. The Bills did it to him twice this year, including Saturday night. The Bills are the first team in NFL history to go a full game without punting, kicking a field goal, or committing a turnover. That stat to me is the one. I mean, that should be
not even a fourth down, though. They didn't even get to a fourth down once.
Insanity. I mean, that right there, that stat, the Bills are the first team in history to go a full game without punting, kicking a field goal, or committing a turnover. I mean, think about that. That right there in itself is the most absurd thing I have ever seen. I mean, you could not imagine in your wildest dreams scripting a game where every single possession results in a touchdown, and that's what happened. They're the first team in NFL history to score a touchdown in 7 straight drives. That's why that stat occurred. They averaged just under 9 yards of play. I mean, Clay, every time they snap the ball, we're sniffing a first down. Second most points scored in playoff franchise history. Like Clay said, never faced a fourth down. 30-point margin of victory, second biggest in the Bills' playoff history. Singletary's 2 touchdowns, the most by a running back in a playoff game in over 20 years. Not a single incompletion from Allen the entire second half and almost the majority of the second quarter. Clay, I mean, what did that take me? 5 minutes right there. We're talking about all of these insane occurrences that happened, and they happened in Buffalo in front of a sold-out crowd, and that had not happened since 1996. Clay, I was still a thought in my dad's mind. I wasn't even alive. It's insane. And the fact that we were there, man, extraordinary. And I can't emphasize it enough. I will never, ever forget it, and I don't think many people will either.
Yeah, no, and like I was saying, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. I've been a season ticket holder for over 12 years now. I don't even know the exact number of years I've been a season ticket holder. That's how long that we've had these tickets. But I've seen so many great games. I was there when the Bills beat the Patriots in 2011. I was there the week before with that amazing comeback against Oakland. I was there when they beat the Packers, when the Marcus Thigpen punt return touchdown and the 2 Bakari Rambo interceptions. I've seen so many cool moments in that stadium. And to me, that one instantly jumped into the top 3, if not the number 1 spot, given the conditions, the weather, right, and people not sure if Josh is going to be able to throw the ball in that kind of a cold weather. He's never done it before. And then, the Patriots and the huge margin of victory and the perfect game on offense. Like you said, the perfect game. I hadn't even thought about it that way before. It's such a good way to put it. And yeah, I really hope people start to use that as a term to how to refer to this game.
Me too. And the other thing and you want to talk about perfection, even the things that they did not mean to do wound up happening. That's the thing. Like the first touchdown, Allen admitted that was a throwaway. Micah Hyde's interception, that was an illusion. How he picked that ball off, he didn't even look at it. He came from across the field. And I'll tell you right now, Clay, that first drive, that could have changed the game. A dropped ball that easily would have put the Patriots within the 10-yard line or so. And then that pick. From there, it was essentially over. It was done. But that play right there, if you want to look at a catalyst in that game, the first 2 possessions, you're throwing the ball away, and Dawson Knox makes one of the greatest plays of the year. And then Micah Hyde, who Jordan Poyer said he thinks it's the greatest play he's ever witnessed, that interception. And then right there, you're talking about 2 extraordinary plays, and it was off to the races. That interception, though, Clay, you were in the stadium. If you're like me, man, I could not understand how it happened. I looked at my dad. I go, dude, he didn't even look at the ball.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, I couldn't speak. That was one of those moments, and that was still early because first of all, I had no idea that he caught the football. I saw him running across, and I thought, I really hope he gets a hand on that. But when they both fell to the turf, I thought, damn, I think Mac just dropped that in the bucket. And from when I figured out that I was actually speechless because at least from my angle, I was kind of directly. Micah Hyde was like directly between myself and where the ball was. So I couldn't really see much going on. I saw him in a dead sprint toward where that ball was headed. And then both guys were on the turf and I had no idea what had happened. That has to have, if there is ever a greatest play that I've ever seen live in that stadium, it's that one. And that I don't even think it's that close of a margin because that's just a freakishly athletic and instinctual play to be able to cover that much ground as a safety. And I mean, think about how good your corners feel after a play like that, where it's like, damn, I'm getting burned right now. I don't even see where the hell Micah Hyde is. Oh shit, there he is. Right. Thanks, Micah. I appreciate you, man. I mean, that is just completely insane. And to think that that's not even our all-pro safety. That's our second team all-pro safety. We've got another one on the other side that's just as good, if not even better than that. It's just an absolutely crazy thought.
Scrolling back up, my man Brandon M with the super chat. He's saying New England went from Dynasty 3.0 to encouraging season with hope for the future to rebuild the entire defense ASAP. We 100% broke them. Go Bills. Yeah, the spirit in New England's broken. That's for sure. It's over. I mean, and we had pardon me, I forget his name. We just met yesterday, but we had a Patriots YouTube creator on yesterday, and the honesty within him was great. But that's a rarity. You're not going to find that very often. These New England Patriots fans are delusional. They did not respect Josh Allen whatsoever, and the final 2 games were finally able to prove to that franchise that the tide has turned. They have done nothing since Brady has left, but luckily for Patriots fans, their boy Tommy's still playing for Tampa. They'll have something to root for as the weeks go on here. But it's over. It's done in New England for the foreseeable future. I'm sorry. The gap is not there. And if you want to hang your hat on a Monday Night Football game that had 30-mile-an-hour winds where you threw the ball 3 times and the Bills imploded, congrats. Enjoy that. It's going to be a while until you get back to anything close to that. And in the fashion in which it happened in the playoffs, you are delusional if you are a Patriots fan and do not accept the fact that the gap between these two organizations right now is massive. Now, I'll never sit back here and say I will never discredit New England because of what they did to us for 20 years, but you are out of your mind at this point in time if you cannot accept that this team is better. And there's been even beat reporters or commentators, whatever the hell you want to call it, talking heads from New England, who are just willing to write this one off as a bad performance from New England that resulted in a good game for a decent team in Buffalo. Get the hell out of here. Brutal. I don't know what else you'd have to see. And if you have that take after that game, you're never changing your mind. And I really do not give a shit what you think about anything to do with this organization if you can't realize that after this game.
Yeah, I mean, to not admit it after a game like that, you've got your head in the sand, because before the game, I understand it. You know, they're 1-1 on the season. They ran the ball all over the place. You know, didn't have to pass the ball the first time. Of course, there was a tornado, so that doesn't really help either case as far as passing the football goes. And we know that the Patriots are a rushing team, but to say that after that game, it was just a good performance. You know, it was a good above average performance than what the Bills would usually do, below performance of what the Patriots would usually do. I don't even think that you can get away with saying that, because it's the number 2 scoring defense in the league, a top 5 defense in probably almost every statistic that you can find. And it's coached by Bill Belichick. And then to go along with that, they didn't stop them. They didn't stop them from gaining a single possible yard that they could have gained the entire time. Every time the Bills got the football, they took every single yard and they got into the end zone. So even if you want to say, it was a bad game by the Patriots, which it probably wasn't. Like I said, I haven't dove into the film myself yet, but I bet if you go back, you'd see maybe, a few screw-ups by the Patriots, but I guarantee you that the Bills were winning their reps on almost every play. They were just winning every down, all 11 guys. And that's the whole mantra that Bill Belichick won his Super Bowls on, is just everybody doing their job. And so I think that's a little poetic as well when we beat them in a similar fashion, where it's just, you can do whatever the hell you want, but if one of your guys slips up, if one of your guys loses his rep, we're going to take advantage of that, and you're going to suffer for it.
One of the big guys that has been a massive influence on this Bills offense has been Ryan Bates, and Relic 187 comes in and says, can we show appreciation for Bates? You're damn right we can. This offense has been completely different. I said yesterday on our recap show, I said, I think Ryan Bates has been gifted down from heaven, and the oddity of that is that I never knew who the guy was until then. They haven't lost since he's been in the starting rotation. Their running game has exploded. Josh Allen's time to throw has been massive. Clay, I know you've looked at film over the last several weeks. What is it about Ryan Bates being on this line that has changed the direction in which they are able to go in behind this line?
Yeah, well, he's able to run block, unlike any of the other guards that we have on the roster. And I don't know what took the Bills so long to figure it out, but
that's the question. What the hell?
None of the Bills guards are good at reach blocks. And that's such a key type of a block for a scheme that the Bills like to run, which is the zone read, as a zone run scheme. So in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to get a good reach block. Your first step has to be good. Your placement on the outside shoulder needs to be really good, and you need to get that leverage and get around him. And Ryan Bates is probably one of the best guys on the roster that's able to do that, which is just crazy to think about. As far as pass blocking goes, I mean, he hasn't been much of an issue there either. Like, Josh Allen has had so much time since he's been in the lineup. The amount of time that Josh Allen has gotten in the pocket has increased, and I think that everyone else on the line has stepped up a little bit as well. I think Darrell Williams is starting to play closer to a level that we were hoping for him at the beginning of the season, and Spencer Brown is now becoming more and more seasoned every week, and he's looking really, really good, man. I did not expect this type of a season from him this year, and Deion Dawkins is finally, at that point now too, where he is just at a level where he is grinding away. So, I mean, what else can you say about these guys except that's such a Buffalo type of thing where we got this guy, he's been sitting on the bench the whole season. We toss him in and he just plays and he just wins his reps, and the guys like him, and it seems to add a little bit of fire. So I'm all for it, man. I absolutely love it. Is for all the guard woes that we've had this season, it's nice that someone has stepped up and decided that they want to play their ass off in that position.
I can live in the shadow of this game for the rest of my life, Clay, but unfortunately there's another one to be played this coming weekend. I know you only got a half an hour with me, so before I let you go here, listen, the stage is set. Sunday Night Football, 6:30 p.m. Our boy Romo on the call. I'm looking forward to that as always. We got a good broadcasting crew, which always makes the game a lot better. We know that what happened the last time the Bills went to Arrowhead and faced the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football this year. It was a dismantling. What do you expect this coming week, Clay, before I let you bounce out of here? Bills, Chiefs, your initial thoughts, and ultimately what do you expect to occur when the clock strikes quadruple zeros come the end of the night Sunday?
Well, I think it's going to be a shootout. And the Bills defense is very good. It's a very good pass defense, but they don't have Tre'Davious White, and there are a lot of good pass catchers on the Kansas City Chiefs roster there. So, and not to mention that Patrick Mahomes is the guy that gets to throw it to him. So both of these guys want it. Both of these guys are coming off 5 touchdown, insane statistical games, both against good defenses. So both these guys are hot, and this is quickly turning into Brady Manning, I think, if we can get a nice little battle here 2 years in a row now. I mean, we didn't get to see it out of Allen last year because that offensive line was struggling so much. I feel much better about the offensive line now than I did last season. And I'll tell you what, man, it might come down to whoever gets the ball last. I hope it doesn't. But both of these teams are going to be able to move the football, and it's going to be an exciting football game to watch. And at the very least, make sure that you enjoy every moment of it, because this could be one for the books as well.
No doubt. Well, I can't wait to watch it. Clay, I also can't wait to watch you Wednesday night. Clay and Kendall will be breaking down that perfect performance from the Bills against New England. They'll also be previewing the Bills versus the Chiefs this coming Sunday, so make sure to check that out in the film room Wednesday night right here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. Clay, my brother, appreciate you as always for stopping by, and we'll talk later in the week. All right, man?
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, Clay. So next guest I got coming on, he's a Chiefs boy. All right, he's a Chiefs boy, fellow Rochester native, and he's the CEO of Big Dog Enterprises. I'm looking forward to having him on, getting his thoughts about the other side of this one. But before I do, a quick word from NordVPN.
Are you out of market, but the NFL Sunday ticket is just too expensive? Hey, this is Pierre the Kingpin from the Buffalo Fanatics, and do we have a deal for you? Watching all NFL games live while having the ability to watch the replay whenever you'd like is what makes the NFL Sunday ticket so popular. The issue is the pricing is just outrageous. Getting DAZN along with NordVPN will cut that price in half. Here are the details. Go to supportbf.com and sign up for DAZN. Then go back and sign up for NordVPN. Once done, just switch your VPN to Canada, then sign into DAZN. Now sit back and enjoy some football. It's the Kingpin, and I'm out.
TheBFVPN.com. Get over there, sign up for it, and take advantage of that deal. It's an awesome one. Before we move on to the Chiefs game and get my man Joe in here to talk about it, Mr. Diggs comes in and says, you guys will see all these Bills players placed on the Wall of Fame. Good stuff. Enjoy. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of them up there, Mr. Diggs. I hope the Bagoulas are ready to restructure the Wall of Fame, make some room up there, because we're going to have plenty of guys making their way to there. All right, next guest. He is the CEO and president of Big Dog Incorporated, my man from Rochester. And for some reason, he is a Chiefs fan, even though he lives in Buffalo Bills territory. my man Joe Big Dog Morency. Here he is. Joe, I haven't seen you in a while, and I just wanted to say right off the bat, you got engaged. Congratulations, and I hope you enjoy the ring because it's the only one coming your way this year, my friend. How are you doing? Thanks for coming on, man.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I'm doing well. It was a pleasure sitting in the waiting room there while you talked about the dismantling that happened earlier this year.
Well, you've experienced a couple on your end too, so you've experienced a couple dismantles.
I believe the AFC Championship last year could be described as a dismantling.
I think I agree with you.
You know, one thing I want to say is, yes, I live in Rochester. Yes, I am a Chiefs fan. I am an ally of Bills Mafia, but I'm coming here today as public enemy number one for Bills Mafia today, I feel like.
Yeah, let me preface that, by the way. Joe is a very big advocate of Bills Mafia and the fan base. He gets it. He gets it. It's tough not to. Listen, you're going to have a tough time living where we live if you're not at least somewhat part of what's going on here. That's actually what I wanted to ask you right off the bat. I don't know if I've ever even asked you this before. How tough is it to be anything but a Bills fan in this territory, especially one of a fan base and a team that – I mean, let's be honest. Up until now, you have been enemy of number one. The Bills got knocked out by the Chiefs last year. Allen's sort of been in the shadow of Mahomes, constantly compared to him. Tough fan base to be a part of around this area.
Yeah, especially when a lot of your friends and family are Bills fans, and most of the people you follow on social media are Bills fans. You really just get Bills fan overhaul from my perspective, but. It's easy to root for the team too. I mean, the Bills are a fun team to watch. I mean, Josh Allen, one thing I've always loved about Josh Allen is how he embraced Buffalo. You know, he came in and was bought into Buffalo immediately. Whereas a lot of guys, you know, the brief Buffalo Bill, Antonio Brown, basically said he ain't never coming to Buffalo when he was supposed to be traded.
Thank God.
So, yeah, right. So it's easy. Yeah, it's easy to root for the Bills, but it is tough being a fan of another team in this area.
Joe, I think one of the biggest factors this weekend and one of the biggest Achilles heels for the Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes' brother. I'm very concerned for the Chiefs and the image that he is setting for them this coming weekend. As a Chiefs fan, how is it dealt with? Because you know how on Twitter you're kind of placed into rooms, right? So my Twitter is nothing but Bills. I'm sure you have a lot of Chiefs content on your Twitter involving plenty of other Chiefs fans. How does Chiefs Kingdom handle that kid? Because we cannot stand him and we have nothing to do with him. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, we can't stand him. I mean, I have been saying ever since the Chiefs were going through a little turmoil at the beginning of the season, the number one priority was to have Patrick Mahomes cut the family off like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Just pull an Aaron Rodgers. Kick the kid to the curb. Kick the family to the curb, just live your life and ball out on the football field. Because
how has nothing been said yet, Joe?
I can't be watching week in and week out Jackson Mahomes dancing on memorials, dancing here, going to bars, doing this, tossing the Mahomes name around, and my man Patrick has to go out there and fight every Sunday. And while that's going on, I can't have it.
Me and my dad were just talking about this last night. Mahomes is a likable guy. His family is making him very unlikable. That's the problem. He's tied to it. It's not fair to him. It's his image to me now is the family. You know what I mean? Even though I know deep down it's not. He's a much different guy. But you have to think there's something there, right? Because he's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One of the guys I follow that's a big Chiefs guy. Was saying a few weeks ago that I don't monitor Jackson Mahomes' social media activity, but there are people in the kingdom that do. So he was saying that Jackson Mahomes had actually cut back the social media activity. So I'm thinking Patrick had to have gotten in his ear and said, "Hey, cut this out because I'm getting a bad rep."
Well, I mean, you got to think at the very least, Mahomes' agent has to say, dude, like something's got to be done here. And it's not just Jackson, man. His wife's in the ear of people online too. It's unbelievable.
She's unbearable. She's all over Twitter talking about the refs, talking about this, that, getting cheated. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, we have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. There are very few scenarios where we are getting cheated because the guy can basically walk onto the football field and do anything.
Yeah.
In my mind, we're always in a game with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Probably the same way Bills fans should feel these days with Josh Allen. It's
Yeah,
different when you have a guy like that.
It is different.
You get the ball at 2 minutes. You need to go get a score. You're probably pretty confident you're going to win a football game.
And the problem I would have with it mostly is because just the sentiment around every game. Like yesterday, it's labeled the TikTok Bowl because it's Jackson Mahomes and then Schuster on the other end. But this weekend, right? Say the Bills win, all that will be tossed around Bills' social media is just images of Jackson Mahomes dancing, and that would just piss me off because it's got nothing to do with anything. But then again, you're tied to it.
He's almost taken over as the mascot of the Chiefs for social media, and it's a tough look for sure. It's a tough look.
All right. Joe, let's get into it, man. All right, we already got one in the books this year, and listen, I'm the first one to admit, Chiefs were not the Chiefs when the Bills went to Arrowhead earlier on in this year, and we know this because they have come full circle. The Chiefs really weren't the Chiefs for several weeks this year, and of course, the national media had a field day with it. Mahomes he's regressing. The Chiefs are, they're not contenders. This defense is a liability. It's been anything but. Patrick Mahomes back to MVP form the last several months. The defense, you could argue, is one of the best in the league the last couple of months, especially compared to where they were. What has been the biggest difference for you going into this game from where the Chiefs were when they played the Bills back on Sunday Night Football earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think for me, having some pieces in the right places really is what's been the turning point for us. So moving Chris Jones back inside has been huge. Nick Bolton getting a lot more playing time at middle linebacker has been huge for us. I mean, having over 100 tackles as a rookie is pretty impressive in the NFL. Sending Dan Sorensen to flip burgers in the concession stands has helped because that guy. I mean, I'm sure Bills fans remember the picture of Tyrann Mathieu standing there with his arms spread, just begging and wondering what is happening behind him.
Yes.
Getting Juan Thornhill in the mix and kind of limiting Dan Sorensen's snaps or taking his snaps a little bit back has been really helpful, especially on the defensive end. Offensively, I think just what everybody's been saying, taking what the defense is giving you. We have seen now for, I don't even know, 11 straight weeks, this shell defense with two high safeties and just keeping everything in the middle of the field. So kind of been an attitude change on offense. You just kind of have to take what the defense gives you and then keep moving the ball down the field and limiting turnovers. I think, the drop passes paid dividends to the Bills when they came to Arrowhead, especially with the Micah Hyde touchdown. But Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, those first few weeks, watching them play football, I was like, who are these guys?
I know.
Who are these people out here? Yeah. They don't drop passes, especially at this clip. So those have been some of the adjustments that have led to going on that 8-game win streak and giving us a chance at having the number one overall seed.
David Reed coming in with a fantastic point. I'm glad he's bringing this up. Does anybody in Chiefs Kingdom talk about the fact that Mahomes runs like he's got a load in his pants? Did anybody talk about that?
It has been talked about. He does run a little funny, but he is kind of deceptively fast. Like he can motor a little bit. So it works out. Listen, I got short, stubby legs. The way I run it don't look too good, but it works out.
You don't want to see me do it either, man. You don't want to see me do it either. So, 38-20 the last time, and I agree with you. I mean, there was plenty of things that went on with the Chiefs that were very uncharacteristic, not only in that game, but other games as well. And then I think we've seen that from Buffalo after that game too. A lot of us, including myself after that game, had the idea that the Bills had really ascended past where they were even last year to another level. That really wasn't the case, and I still feel that way. I mean, the other night was obviously unbelievable, but that wasn't indicative of who the Bills were all season. We hadn't seen that at all. So to me, that Chiefs win was a little bit invalidated as the season went on because of who the Chiefs were at that moment in time. When I look at it, I as the season had went on and the Bills were having their struggles, I had said, look, to me, we really put a lot of stake in that victory. And the more I think about it, the more I think that we have to take less from it. When you watch I'm sure you watch the Bills frequently, as you're around here. What have you seen out of the Bills throughout the course of the season that not only one scares you outside of what Josh Allen brings to the table, but one thing that you see from the Bills that you're worried about this week, and then one thing that you've noticed from the Bills that you think the Chiefs can really take advantage of to help get them to the victory?
So I think the one thing that I think plays well for the Bills that I think they've done really well is getting Gabe Davis involved. I think that guy has been an absolute game changer. He has been a guy that can be that big shot home run hitter for the Bills. I also think that for me, the main thing is actually Josh Allen's maturity. I have seen less of Josh Allen taking those stupid sacks, less of him trying to play hero ball all the time, and him just playing his game. Him doing what the scheme says and taking what the defense gives him and just playing his game. And he's been incredible. He was my fantasy quarterback, so I got some love for Josh Allen. But
Yeah,
one thing that I think plays for the Chiefs is the obvious Trey White being out. I mean, that guy. I'm an LSU fan, so go Tigers. Yeah. That guy has been an absolute stud for the Bills. So it's really you're gonna really need like Levi Wallace and Taron Johnson to really step up in those spots, and we'll see. I'm just hoping that we might be able to hit one home run or two because we weren't able to against you guys the first time we played.
Well, that's a great point because I brought this up the other day. We were talking about what the Bills needed to avoid to get the win against the Patriots, and it was that right there, the big ball or the big play. They have allowed several massive plays, mainly in the run game this year, and obviously there's nobody better in the business than the Chiefs at getting home run plays, so that's a great point. Silas coming in saying our defensive plan shouldn't change, except we should blitz more from the secondary. Our pass rush, especially on the inside, has gotten so much better. It's really tough to blitz Mahomes, Joe. That's the problem. The Bills had a really tough time getting pressure on him last year. That's why you guys beat the hell out of us in the AFC Championship. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl when you can get pressure on Mahomes. But the thing is, Joe, and to answer Silas's, to get to Silas's point there, I mean, you watch it every week. You watch Mahomes. Blitzing him is a risky.
It's a gamble. Yeah, it's a gamble.
So when you're thinking about, when you watch the game, because as a fan, I think you have more of an innate ability to understand a team more than, somebody who doesn't watch the team as closely. Like if you're a really big fan of one team, obviously you know what's going on in the rest of the league, but you know way more about that team. You look at Mahomes, and Silas is saying one thing that will benefit the Bills would be blitzing. I don't know if that would be your answer, but if you had an answer, what is the one thing you see out of Mahomes that you think is a weakness of his, or at least has been this season, that when exploited can hurt the Chiefs?
So I think one thing that the Ravens did really well with us was extending their defensive ends down the field. So instead of, everybody learns, don't get too far upfield as a defensive end. But if you create this bubble of a pocket, his escapability is cut in half pretty much. So I've seen what the Ravens did pretty successfully against us was basically wrap your defensive ends around the backside of Patrick Mahomes to create this bubble and have Patrick Mahomes forced into stepping up and bring delayed blitzes. Patrick Queen, I think, had 2 sacks against Patrick Mahomes when we played them, just on delayed blitzes. Having a guy as a QB spy, as soon as you see Patrick Mahomes step up, boom, go and get him. Which, I think Tremaine Edmonds is a good enough athlete to be that type of player. So is Milano.
He is. Milano's the guy. And he's like one of the most underrated players in the league, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's incredible.
This fan base has a big problem, it's so hard to characterize it, but a lot of people have had issues with the production of Tremaine Edmonds. But I think there's plenty of pieces on that defense, including Trey, that are really solid pieces that are tough to go against no matter who you are. The one thing for the Chiefs that I look at, and it really hasn't burnt them at all, but it is definitely a problem that, if taken advantage of, can be an issue. And it's their slow starts in these playoff games. It's happened a lot. It happened last night. They looked bad last night, but you knew, come on, the Steelers, Jesus Christ. That was the worst watch ever, but it happened last night. What is it about this team where it's just so tough for them to get the ball rolling right out of the gates?
Hey, so last night was a perfect example. So I don't know if you know Beauty Bets, but Beauty Bets,
is that a Twitter account?
On Twitter account.
Right.
A Webster Schrader grad created a Twitter account called Beauty Bets.
I'll have to check it out.
And he throws out picks. And last night he gave a Steelers money line pick. And I know him personally. So as soon as TJ Watt scooped and scored that fumble, don't you know, my phone's blowing up. Eye emojis, uh-ohs, are you nervous yet? And My answer was I'm not nervous because I got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill here on my football team. But I was confused. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what are we doing on offense right now? Why is McCole Hardman back there handing balls off to a running back? What is going on? Go down there, score the damn ball, and run the score up. So I don't want to say they get too cute because, the last 4 years, the Chiefs offense kind of has been made on some cute plays.
Of course.
Their screens, these shovel passes, this, that. But it's almost like not trusting or experimenting. I don't know if they experiment for the first 5, first 2 drives, whatever it is. But against the Bills, we can't be out there experimenting. We can't be out there getting too cute, having McCole Hardman hand balls off. Like, that's not going to fly.
As much as I can't stand Nick Wright, he tweeted something last night that I thought was honestly...
You and me both. I just wanted to put this on record.
Is that right?
Chiefs Kingdom does not own Nick Wright.
Really?
Oh, my God, I can't stand it.
Is that a well-known thing throughout your guys' fan base for the most part?
It's about 50-50. It's about 50-50.
Is he aware of that?
He's kind of... Probably not, because that guy's just a freaking egotistical maniac. But it's kind of like a Skip Bayless effect. 50% of Cowboys fans like him, 50% don't like him. So I'm on the 50% that don't like him.
I mean, I got to be honest with you, man. I don't know. There's just not a whole lot to dig, but whatever. He tweeted out last night. He said everybody knows the Chiefs start slow and they don't get it rolling until they're down. And he said Andy Reid basically drew up the fumble to TJ Watt to allow him to go down. Is there some sort of odd truth to that, though, where they go down and things just wind up kicking into gear?
I mean, I'd like to think no, because for health reasons, for me sitting on the couch watching the games, I like to think that that's not the case. But, I mean, these guys are out there, making crazy decisions, making millions of dollars. So Andy Reid's been to, I saw it today, something like 13 divisional rounds, playoffs 16 times, whatever it is. So I got to put my trust in the guy. But I can tell you this, 2 years ago when we were down 24-0 to the Texans, I'm sitting in a bar in North Carolina and having a miserable time. Miserable time. So I do not want to see them starting slow. I'd like this. I like what your buddy Clay, was it Clay? It was right before
Clay.
this. Mm-hmm. I like what he said. That I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I think whoever gets the ball last is going to win this football game. Is really,
and that's kind of how I see it. And I think this is what my man Carl is coming in here trying to get at too. He's saying offensive rank for KC is tied for number 1 with Tampa, and Buffalo is number 4. The defensive ranks for Buffalo number 1. KC has shot up to 8, and you got to think 8 would be higher if it didn't factor in how they played earlier in the season. So they're more towards the top than they really are, indicated in these rankings. So he's saying both teams are evenly matched. Bills defense may win the day. To me, that might be the one differentiating factor here, is that the Bills D might have the edge, but I don't know how much of an edge that is. When you look at the game this coming weekend, and it to be true as far as what Clay said and what you just said again, how it could come down to the last play. Vegas knows all, man. This game's sitting at 2.5, and you know what that means. Dead even. So
that tells me that we're actually kind of the dog, because in history says that Vegas gives 3 points to the home team anyway.
You're spot on.
If we're
Kingdom worth at least 3, man, no doubt.
If we're in Buffalo, we'd be a dog right now, which I'd be at the game, probably the only one in red. I'll tell you that.
I got to tell you, I think, you guys travel really well. I mean, I think it would show up. But to me, I might put a little bit more stake in that than most. But listen, man, I've lost enough money in my day to know how right Vegas is. And I know you have too. I know you've been there. So this game, what we're being told, and I don't think we even needed to be told it, but we're being reinforced it. It's going to be insanely close. To you, what's the one thing that flips this game one way or the other on either side?
I'm gonna say Chiefs Kingdom. I'm gonna say Arrowhead, playing at home. Josh Allen had an MVP caliber season last year. He's had an MVP caliber season this year. But a lot of people watched what happened in that AFC Championship game last year in Arrowhead. Bright lights. You guys, you came out, got a little antsy, made a couple of those, tried to make those heroic plays that didn't really work out, and the Chiefs capitalized on. So I don't think it's going to be a game like last year. In any sense, I think the Bills are past having games like that. But I do think that Arrowhead is going to be a differentiating factor for the Chiefs.
Don coming in saying Vegas wasn't right Saturday. Yeah, Vegas lost some money over the weekend. I didn't mind watching that.
I will say I capitalized on that. Capitalized on that.
Before I let you go. Yeah, no. Well, I was gonna say to you, what you had over the weekend, because to me it was an anomaly how many blowouts there were. All these games are usually close. So I was just gonna ask you real quick if you were on the winning side of that.
Oh yeah. Well, most everybody I know was on the winning side of that. I mean, that was, to me, that was such a slap in the face to the Bills. That line, like minus, what did it close at? -4.
It was 4, 4.5. Yeah.
I got him at 4.5. That was, to me, 20 years of built-up animosity for a team coming into your house on a divisional playoff game. First Bills home game? Well, with fans since '96.
Yep.
Yeah, you just Vegas. You got to kind of factor that in there, guys. That game was going to be a murder from the beginning.
Well, that's why I think what you're bringing up with the Chiefs Kingdom is fair. I was there the other night. It 100% had an effect. There were multiple times where the Patriots either had to take a timeout or they went off sides. It's a real thing. No question. No question. Before I let you go, Joe, because I know you want to get watching the game, so do I. I'm going to let everybody out of here soon. But before I let you go, want to get your quick thoughts on what Chevy YT is coming in here. He's saying Tyrann Mathieu is washed. Allen's going to run him over. Quick thoughts on that.
Oh, my God. I mean, listen, Allen definitely has the size advantage.
Yeah,
but Tyrann Mathieu's from the boot, man. That boy is right from Louisiana. That is a hard-hitting safety, man. Oh, I love him. He's the leader of our defense, one of the leaders of our team. I hope they re-sign him this offseason. Would love for him to be a Chief for the rest of his career.
All right, I know you're an honest guy. So you just tell it straight up. You're not a homer like that, which I appreciate, and I like that about. We had a master at work. He's a YouTube creator from New England the other day. He predicted what happened the other night, but on the other side, and it was just hilarious. So, not always, it's not always paying in dividends when you is an insane homer like that. So I think you know where I'm going here. Give me your final, how it all pans out, and why you get to that outcome.
I think Chiefs win 34-27.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes down to the final 2 minutes. I think we get ball back with, say minute 45 on the clock. We go down, score. Bills leave maybe 12 seconds on the clock. Hail Mary attempt falls to the ground, and we move on to I wish we moved on to the Super Bowl. This should be a AFC Championship game. That's the worst part about this game, is that we still got to go through one more to get to the Super Bowl, no matter who wins. So, but yeah, I think Chiefs win 34-27 in a close dogfight.
I think that's a fair guess, 100%. Now, what you're saying, which I completely agree with, it does feel like an AFC Championship. So one more thing before I let you ride. Whoever wins this game, who do you think they're facing off against in the title game? Who do you got?
I think we're playing the Bengals.
I agree completely, 100%.
I think we're playing the Bengals. Better Joe quarterback, better offense.
You're an LSU guy. You know it, man. It's the real deal, man. Joey B, real deal.
Yeah. Oh, he is. Everything is advertised. I think, I don't know if you know the Barstool guys, but PFT commenter, he tweeted during that game. He was like, I don't think Joe Burrow's heart rate's ever been over 45 beats per minute. And I couldn't agree more. Like, there wasn't a second in that game where he was not cool as a cucumber and did not think he was going to win that game. So I think we're playing the Bengals. I think it'll be a good one. And then I think whoever wins that is going to be playing the Packers in the Super Bowl.
And I agree with you there, too. And the cool thing about if the Bengals win, no matter what happens, Chiefs or Bills, it's a home game for either one in that AFC Championship. And back to your point right there, Coward had a segment the other day that I completely agreed with. Burrow's got this innate ability to be cockier than shit, but very likable. And it's something that a lot of guys don't have. Like Rodgers doesn't really have that. Brady never really had that. Likable guy. I don't know how you couldn't like him, and he has been balling. So, and everybody yesterday, everybody wanted the Steelers and our fan base, and I didn't agree with this. Everybody wanted the Steelers to win so we could play Cincy, and I said to myself, I don't know how much. Chiefs, Bengals. It's not like it's going to be easy either way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, all right. Well, hey. Big Dog Corp CEO and Prez, Joe Morency hopping on. I appreciate the honesty and the takes, man. It was awesome. And you'll be hearing from me later in the week. Me and Mr. Peck will be on this week. So.
I'm sure you and about 100 other ones.
I know. I love it. All right. Hey, Joe, I'll let you go. Enjoy the game tonight and enjoy Sunday as well. All right, brother?
Hey, thanks, brother. You too.
See you, Joe. Joe Morency, president, CEO of Big Dog Corp. I absolutely love it. Joe, old friend of mine from high school. Listen, I appreciate people who are fans of other, fan bases, especially in this area. It is tough. Believe me, man, when you live in this area, if you are not a Bills fan, at the very least a Jets or a Giants fan, I don't know how you can do it. Like I would not function very well. That's essentially like living in Boston, living in the outskirts of Green Bay. Just imagine that. That is not easy to do. So you have to be pretty bipartisan. Joe is, and I appreciate him coming out. I hope you guys digged it. The ref coming on here saying, this is more than just a game. This is a war, and we are ready. Time to settle unfinished business. 38-24 Bills. Love it, ref. And you're damn right. This is more than just a game. I tweeted this out yesterday, and I'm a firm believer of it. And actually, surprisingly, nobody attacked me on this because maybe they agreed with it. But I said this rivalry, the Bills Chiefs, it is turning into vintage Patriots Colts. Now I understand, they're not Brady and Manning. I get that. But the vibe surrounding this rivalry is getting very intense, and it includes playoff games with massive implications, just like the Patriots Colts rivalry back in the day. I'm loving it. This rivalry is really turning into something special. In order for it to be even more special, the Bills have got to split it down the middle. They lost last year in the playoffs to the Chiefs. To really make this even more heated, Bills got to get it done this weekend. Carl coming in saying, if Bills and Bengals win the AFC championship is in Buffalo. Yes, it is, Carl. Big Bengals fan this coming weekend. And the cool thing is the Bengals play Saturday. So we will know the fate of the Bills for Sunday. We will know going into Sunday. If the Bills win, we are going into the Ralph for an AFC championship. I can't think of anything in this world I would rather experience. I simply cannot wait. My man Pierre coming in making a good point here. He says, including two QBs that can only do what they do, this rivalry makes too much sense. Exactly right. And that's why I see it. Yes, Brady and Mahomes are not Brady, or excuse me, Allen and Mahomes are not Brady and Manning. Nobody ever will be. And that's why I can't stand comparisons a lot of the time, because everybody is different. But if you want to think about two quarterbacks in this league right now who are more similar than anybody, it's Allen and Mahomes. And that's what makes this rivalry even more special. And that's why I equate it to Bengals. I got them on the brain. I want to play them in the AFC Championship. That's why I equate it to Patriots and the Colts. All right, so the stage is set. Obviously, the Bills and the Chiefs, 6:30 on Sunday night. Winner heads off to the AFC Championship. The other games that have been set in stone, we have the Packers playing the 49ers. Sneaky good game. The 49ers are healthy. They are way better than advertised, way better than they looked earlier in the season. I know they tried to give that game away yesterday, and I'm sorry to anybody who sees this who's a Cowboys fan. That game was on Dak. It was not on the refs. Turn your blame to Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. I have never seen a more egregious play call in my entire life than a QB draw on the last play of the game with no time remaining. If that happened in Buffalo, all of my anger would be addressed to the guy who snapped it and the guy who called the play. Ridiculous. That game wound up resulting in a victory for the 49ers. They go off to Lambeau. A tough task, but listen, Green Bay off a bye. The 49ers have been playing playoff football for weeks. They've been fighting for their life. Could be tougher than advertised for Green Bay. And then, of course, you have Bengals and Titans. I like the Bengals in that one. An incredibly good and young offense that is going to be here to stay. Derrick Henry's first game back. How effective will he be? We'll find out. But I do like the Bengals in that game. I think Joe Burrow's playing some of the best football in the league. He'd be my MVP if I had a vote. And I give the edge there to the Bengals, and that would result, of course, in an AFC home championship game for the Bills should they get it done. And then tonight, of course, we'll figure out the next matchup. We have Rams, Cardinals. Listen, I hope to God we get a good game tonight. That's why I did this one early. I want everybody to go and watch that game and hopefully get a good game, because there hasn't been a good game all weekend outside of the Bills' dominance. And listen, if you weren't a Bills fan in that game, you hated watching it. And the reason you know that is because last night was a dominant game from the Chiefs against the Steelers, and it put me to bed, put me to sleep. In the grand scheme of competition, These games have blown this weekend. So hopefully we get a good game tonight. Winner of that one is off to Tampa Bay to face off against Tom Brady and the defending champion Buccaneers. So that's the landscape for the divisional round. We will see how it all plays out. And I will be back here with you next Monday night to be talking about what happened in the divisional round. And hopefully we're sitting down here talking about another trip to the AFC Championship. Until then, everybody, really enjoy what happened over the weekend. Bask in it for a few more days because that was about as good as it gets. And then from there, get ready for the game of the year. Bills-Chiefs, divisional round in Arrowhead. Can't wait. I'll see you next Monday, 8 p.m. right here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. Until then, stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out there. And as always, go Bills.